It
Shit.
is I, your host, Wise Papa Smurf, back again, like for the 280th time or something, because I think I've missed like 10 or 11, but, or 19, whatever, math. Anyway, I am back. With me tonight, I brought two of my happiest go luckiest amigos, and that starts with Mr. Zill. Hey, Zill, what's happening, buddy?
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, and my also fine hatted fellow double sniffed. How you
Top
doing,
of the
buddy?
morning, governor.
So as we're all wearing you know, derby style hats,
Hmm.
you know.
Because the Mario hat is a derby style
Yeah,
hat.
depends
Well,
on the
it
derby.
depends on where you yeah.
Depends on the
I
derby.
assume
Nice.
derbies have plumbing issues. So before we started, and I wanted to hear this live and in person. Double's name in the squadcast is Four Seasons Landscaping, and I knew that was a meme, but I've never looked it up to understand why it's a meme or what happened. So can you give me a rundown? Give you a rundown of
Sure.
that?
So this is the thing. The Trump campaign is waging a litigation war against what we in the legal field call reality.
Right.
Um, like, this is for Zill's benefit. I know you know these complicated Latin jargons,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
so there's
It's
reality.
realite
Yeah,
with
yeah,
an
yeah.
accent aigu on the
This
end. Yes.
is I mean, it's the fundamental basics of tenets of our criminal system is that if you have enough money, you can just like keep fighting for no reason because people keep taking your money. But
Mm-hmm.
so like they wanted to announce this big press conference to like signal the start of litigation season, and I think they were going to have like a draft of like all the different lawyers to see who was going to
Sure.
get picked. Like there was the whole selection, like proving grounds.
Right.
Right.
And so some staffer for the Trump team booked in Philadelphia the Four Seasons. Well, it turns out it wasn't the fucking hotel. It was this shitty ass well, no, it's fine business. It's fine business.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it is a small independent landscaping company that is sandwiched in the outskirts of Philadelphia. Take it away, Zill.
Between a dildo shop and a morgue.
Yep.
Okay.
Porn shop and a
And so
crematorium.
they booked this facility
Yes.
for like, or did they
Yes.
book
Events,
inadvertently?
I believe, was what the
Yeah.
Four Seasons would call it. But yes.
So
Okay.
people with brains went to the Four Seasons
Uh
and
huh.
like the hotel and we're
Right.
like, hey, we're here for the and like the Four Seasons Hotel broke the story when they tweeted, hey y'all, we're not hosting this fucking press conference. You're looking for Four Seasons Landscaping down at the corner of I'm hoping was Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and whatever other random like shitty part of town, like 'cause that's what they do in
And
America.
69th.
Like
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
place that I've
That's
ever
exactly
lived, like
MLK.
MLK
Yeah.
Boulevard is like the shittiest place to be. I think they do it intentionally, but like we will concentrate crime here, haha.
So like, for Zill's sake, so if like Troost and the Paseo had an intersection, that's where Four Seasons landscaping would be.
That is correct. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now,
And I
so
lived there during law school. For
Well,
the
yeah,
record,
we
it was
all
like
lived together during law school.
right in the intersection of my car got broken into twice in a day. Yeah,
It's like
that's
our
what.
Mormon mission, living in the hood during law school.
Yeah.
We have to do the 3 years of it. But like, so Zoom made a like they have this like green building, and they put they to their credit, like it's like every sitcom where they try to do a wedding, and like you know the characters want like this big crazy wedding,
Yeah.
but they don't have that in the budget. So
Mhm.
shit inevitably goes wrong in the sitcom to force them to do a very small intimate wedding at the office. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
um, that's what happened here. I think like this is just life imitating art, where it's like, well, we don't have the
It
$4 million in the
was like
budget.
another season of Arrested Development. It
Yeah,
was
and they
very
had
much
to,
along
and
those
they
lines.
came together and put up all this shit to make it look official, and like Fox zoomed in on Rudy Giuliani. So like all you could see is like the Trump banners behind him, like when they have the sponsors, when you see the lead people, and like you zoom out and they're like on this plywood stage.
There's like a guy just on a 0-turn mower in the background. Like, why did you book this? Like, what? We don't do these. We trim hedges. Yeah, okay.
Right-wing media framed it professionally, and everybody else zoomed way the fuck out. So it just looks like a magician moved Rudy Giuliani's press conference it's like David Copperfield was like, fuck you, and just moved it in the middle of somewhere else. So I was just like, dude, can you imagine being on the Celebrity Apprentice and being a contestant on the Celebrity Apprentice and your team books Four Seasons landscaping instead of the Four Seasons? Can you imagine the fucking shitstorm that Donald Trump would fucking lay on you on TV, for a fake game show that he doesn't give a shit? Now imagine it's fucking real life, and this is the bookend.
I just looked up
presidential campaign.
I just looked up a picture of this building.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Did they actually hold? They actually hold the press conference?
Yeah, they held
really
that. That is, and they didn't the company made it a Zoom background. So all over the country, people are having their Zoom meetings with Four Seasons landscaping there. And to Four Seasons credit, they've started selling T-shirts that say "Lawn and Order." I can't remember the other. What was the other one? Zill, do you remember some of the other ones?
I don't remember the other one. I just know that there was memes going around that was saying that Giuliani was going to fight this all the way to the Supreme Courtyard of Marriott.
Oh God, I don't care what side you're on politically. This shit is just funny. These kind of, whoopsie-doos, this is what should literally make you happy to be an American citizen.
This is the best story of 2020. It's the story of the year.
And so after COVID, they gave this back to us. Is basically what you're telling me.
Yep. And God bless that staffer. I hope Biden gives him a fucking cabinet position. He's like, who the fuck booked this for? That would be the best thing if
you're the minister. You're the minister of landscaping.
I'll bet it was the same person who helped with the fast food buffet selection, except didn't get Taco Bell.
I just had Taco Bell.
Taco Bell's great. Why wouldn't you put that on the fast food buffet?
Man, if I wanted my nachos to come on a pile of powder, I would prefer that powder to be cocaine, not nacho dust, which is apparently what. There was no chip that was larger than a postage stamp. I don't understand.
That's a shame.
It was really
what
bad.
were they announcing at this press conference, though?
That Blake, they're announcing the fundamental erosion of our entire democratic way of life, and that they're going to fight for us. That's what they're announcing.
Oh, okay. So this
is landscaping.
So this was literally I'm going to discuss my legal challenges to the ballot count, and then they're here.
I think it was a dual purpose. I think after the press conference, they went into the adult bookstore next door to get material for President Trump's new library that he's going to build.
Now they walk in, they're like, oh, so this is how we got fucked.
Dude, the Donald Trump Presidential Library is going to be the greatest collection of shaved and unshaved classic penthouse magazines from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. People are going to take their kids to this library and be like, son, this is before the internet. This is what we had to do. Look at these pages. They're stuck together. It's going to be an incredible display.
Yeah, the pictures are just amazing. Honestly, I think that every president should have one press conference at the Four Seasons landscape.
Should be a new tradition.
I think it should. I think every president should do it now. Because it's not far.
Have a press conference.
And I was talking about that today.
What asshole at the landscaping company booked this? Wouldn't you eventually just be like, we're a landscaping company. You probably don't want to have a press conference here.
Hey Siri, give me a press conference at the Four Seasons. Okay, Donald. Okay, Donald. Will do.
It's been booked.
Hey Alexa, that's a press conference at Four Seasons in Philly. Sure thing.
Oh fuck.
Coming right up. They ordered the press conference on Wish.com. That's what happened.
like almost like I really just want to know like how the fuck did this happen? Like somebody has to have a sense of humor in this thing.
Somebody
Like,
just needs to make a fake, like a mockumentary about how this happened, like a Christopher Guest style, like Veep style documentary series about how this happened. Like that would be, I would watch. We would all watch. About 75 million Americans would watch that movie. 100%. I feel confident in that number. I just pulled it out of thin air.
oh God! Right,
But you said something
right
earlier
before
about the
they
turkey.
did the press conference, they just announced Biden's victory.
Yeah,
While the
yeah.
dude's standing at the wrong place in the.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
So I was thinking about this
What a
earlier.
perfect storm of. Oh God, that's a bad day if
Like-
you're on this team. Like that's rough.
Like President Trump is breaking like every tradition that we've ever had, right? About how to like handle this type of situation. And the person I'm really worried for is the fucking White House turkey. Because like he's 7 days away from a pardon. Like, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna get like, that turkey's gotta be shitting fucking bullets. Cause like my money is that Donald Trump like has the fucking like turkey pardoning ceremony and just like tips his hat to Giuliani, who fucking emerges with a chainsaw and just chops the fucker's head right off, and it sprays like blood and viscera over all the children in the front row who are intentionally dressed up badly like 70s versions of American Indians because their job is to like intentionally offend like especially the Navajo tribe because they cost them Arizona. But like, so there's these blood-stained children covered in intentionally cultural appropriation costumes of Native Americans. This is the vision that I have for America today. I hope the turkey makes it though. Jesus Christ, like, fucking worst time to be a turkey. Yeah, like that is not a no-brainer, man.
Has he pardoned previous turkeys? Do we even know the
so.
president?
Oh God! So,
like, I'm waiting for him to draw and quarter this poor bird.
Hold on,
like,
back up. The Four Seasons Total Landscaping Company, after the thing, goes on Instagram and posts a thank you to Philadelphia police for making the event a safe place, and then further goes on to say, we're trying to make America green again. That's brilliant.
Yep.
Like.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna capitalize on a enormous presidential fuck up, this is the way you do it.
I mean, if you own a small business, it's just like this is fucking gold.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about this, I would have totally booked this. I absolutely 100% down.
People will visit this place. People will take their children and be like, "Son, this is where Donald Trump was defeated."
Son, this is where the biggest this place held a press conference. That's all you got to say. The kids would be like, "What?
What?
It's the landscape."
All right, Dad. I got to use the bathroom in that adult bookstore. I'll be back, Dad. You keep things things going.
God. No, I knew literally nothing about this. I missed the whole thing. So this is just awesome. What a thing. Okay.
I mean, you have to listen to a lot of shit, but yeah, to get to this story. But yeah, it's worth it. Anyway,
all right. So, guys,
and if you're a right winger who's listening to our podcast and this triggers you, tough.
I don't know, man. I think if this happened to anybody, you should get a kick out of this. It doesn't matter.
God.
Like, it doesn't matter. You don't get to witness this kind of monumental fuck up but once every decade or two. Like this is just a giant you shit the bed moment, and all of America gets to watch. That's just awesome. You live for these moments as like a cynical
Did you ever watch Veep?
Person,
Did you ever watch the HBO show Veep?
No, but I do love.
Oh, dude, that show's fantastic.
I was saying I love the guy that played
Tony Hale.
Young Bluth, Buster played Buster.
Yeah,
Bluth.
Tony Hale. He's in that. That's a great show, and this is like the people at Veep are like, how the fuck did we not write this? It's like they're just like, fuck, this would have been so good.
I mean, this does seem like an Arrested Development joke.
I know.
I mean, to be totally honest, it seems like something that would happen on Arrested Development. Okay, actually, Losdell. Actually, talking about League though.
Wait, it'll stop the recording.
It did. Enzil's back, and we're recording.
We're re-recording. Okay.
Okay, so actually talking about League of Legends though. Because we need to probably do that.
We got a lot to unpack.
We do have a lot to unpack. So the new season is here, and we took the last week off because I didn't want to talk out of our ass on items having just read them. Because a couple of things seem really broken on paper that aren't, Kraken Slayer, and other things seem like they're like maybe not so broken and are, right? So let's just get into it. Have you guys been playing a lot with the new items? I've
I
played with
have been.
several.
Yep.
Okay.
I have been playing. I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed lately because that
Yes,
just
you
came
have.
out. But I have played enough games to know that there's really only one item.
I
In
want
the
to start
game.
us off with this for a second.
Yeah,
actually.
hit
So there's three approaches really to the preseason, right? There's the like, don't read anything, don't get your hopes up about anything, just go in and play it on day one, but like, don't theory craft or shit because things are going to change, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
there's that approach, and I think that's the approach that Blake took this preseason.
Correct.
And then there's me, where like I read everything and hoped for everything and theory crafted a bunch of shit. It was ready on day one to go with my preconceived builds, only to have runes changed at the last second, also, which like ripped all of that out from under me. And then there's Double's way of doing it, which is go and play a different game for a week and let everything chill out until we're ready to go play.
When the Koreans tell me what to play, then I'll know
Sure.
what to play.
You gotta let Korea catch up. You know.
Why am
That's
I?
just
What? Yeah. Why do I need to do this? There's a whole country of people doing this for me, and they're giving it away for free. All of them. I just need. I gotta send some Botox treatments to LS, and he's gonna tell me everything that I need to know. And by the way, Zill, is that a tire pressure gauge in your hand?
It is. I'm fidgety, man.
You are the only, and it's just such a perfect Zill thing.
You are
For you to be
absolutely
like
indoors.
gesticulating with the tire pressure. You're the only human being I've ever met that I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Is that a tire? What is that in his hand? Is that a vape pen? Is it like a flute?
Not a vape
No,
pen.
that's a tire pressure
no
gauge.
drug
Of course it
paraphernalia
is.
here. It's a dad thing. I don't know.
No, I'm not. I just think it's amazing. Like if it was any other person, I think it was weird.
But
And
yeah,
Blake's
like
got Darkwing Duck. There you
Yeah,
go.
I got a Darkwing Duck statue, so I want to be part of the team.
But I just want to say, like, so we had those like three different approaches, right? And the first game that we jump into in the preseason, I'm with Blake. Double, of course, is playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Blake can't find health potions.
Oh, I was in this game.
Oh yeah,
I was in this fucking game.
I lost that game to Shop Diff, by the way. Like
That's my fucking joke.
that was your joke. I gave it to you. Shop Diff fucking happened that
I
game.
said it all chat shop.
He sits in Fountain for like 3 fucking minutes, going, "Where are potions?" 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Where are
Like-
potions? And
Where's the
everyone's like
potion?
to the top and to the left, as if they're instructing him on dance moves, and he's like, "I don't understand."
He's looking at his second monitor. He's like, where?
Okay,
Where? Are
so
they in the room?
like top
Where are these?
left.
Where are they?
No, I didn't realize that there was a sidebar. If you guys had just said there's a fucking
You're a
sidebar
lawyer.
now,
You
I'd be like,
sidebar for
oh,
a
okay, there's
living."
a sidebar, yeah, okay. I'm like, yeah, that's something I'm very familiar with. This is okay, we're good. But everybody's just like, it's in the top left. So I'm looking at the bottom in the top left, and I'm like, it's not there. And they're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's really not. I'm not seeing these. I need these fucking things to lane. Like, help. And it was like, dude, top left. And then finally, after the first and second waves pass, I find out that they meet on the sidebar, and I'm like, oh, well, that's handy.
Oh, they're there. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right. And then
He
like,
waltzes into lane with
the
a few extra
level,
health potions.
yeah, the level 3 Echo just anals me for the entire game, like rough ride, and like to the point where I'm scheduling like STD checks. Yeah, it was.
Put on your learning hats, kids, because today what Blake learned about is something called the law of diminishing margins, which means Blake thought that he needed those potions, but at some point of the game, he was better suited just going to lane without the potions
Right.
than going to lane with them 5 minutes late.
To be fair, I did find my other items within a reasonable amount of time. It was just the consumables that completely threw me. And then, like I said, once I found them, I was like, oh, that's clever. I like that.
I also love how you pick the best time to like rededicate yourself to learning Katarina on the day after they remove Hextech Gunblade.
Okay, so on that note, you've hit something there that I want to unpack. She didn't lose anything for that.
Okay.
Like really, like I think she's actually better than she was. Cause
That's
like
fair.
Zill, do you
Yeah.
remember when I was one-shotting people with Shunpo?
Yes.
Bingo. Like
I saw you do that 2 games in a row after you learned how to buy health potions the first game. Yes.
Right.
We all of a sudden you were like you said to yourself, I'm just going to follow what the shop says I should build and build that. And then lo and behold, a 16-4 Katarina waltzed in and shunpoed somebody to death in one hit.
like I was
If
literally
only
like,
they had
oh,
recommended some health potions.
yeah.
If
I was
only.
like, yeah, no shit. I was like, every time it was happening, I was like, oh, this is just gross.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Zill's like, you better get out of there. And I'm like, no, I think I got it. I just like bounced at 3 people. And I'm like, hey,
Yep.
this is incredibly stupid. And
I was
then,
like,
you know,
that damage is not what I'm used to seeing from
Yeah.
Katarina. No.
so like, you know, that being said, what I ended up building in terms of like whatever, the item is Night Harvester. So they made it to where damaging a champion does an extra burst of damage. You get like 80 AP, 250 health, and then cooldown as your other, which doesn't really help Katarina all that much because kills reset her cooldowns, but it's still
Yeah,
useful if you don't get it because Shunpo can go down to like 5 seconds. So even if you go in and you don't quite get that kill, there's still opportunity to escape. Or if you have to like Zanya's, you can still escape. And it gives every other item that you buy extra ability haste. So to the extent that CDR is always a useful stat, though it is less optimal on Katarina, it's really the like doing any kind of damage gives you massive upfront burst. That's awesome. That and they like prior to releasing all these items, they made it to where she applies like on hit effects with like damn near everything she does. So now you can build this into Lichbane, into like Wit's End, and just blow people up with like
Wits End's nice. Wits End's
yeah,
nice,
with like
nice item now.
700 point Shunpos. Just annihilate people because all of that like front loaded damage hits simultaneously on an instant undodgeable ability. And so, yeah, she didn't lose anything with Gunblade. I'm not even worried about Gunblade. And then other people have found success building Katarina like a tank because, well, honestly, the tank items.
Why
are,
not put a Sunfire on Yumi?
Well, I mean, the tank options are still pretty ridiculous right now.
Just
Like,
attached into a pentakill.
yeah,
It's like
I
a
think.
nuclear cat.
But okay, so here's what I don't want to do on this episode of the podcast is be like, these items are so broken because by next week they're going to be hot fixed down to what is reasonable,
It
right?
should be hot. Sunfire Aegis should be hot fixed already. Like that.
Well, it should be, but I think they're
Come on,
just
man.
looking for more data before they like knee jerk, which is why I don't really want to do that ourselves. Like what I
I'm fine
really
with that,
want.
but
What I really
I'd
want to
say-
talk about is like synergies with kits, like what you're looking to do with these items. And then we can say like, are they particularly strong right now or they suck, right? Like needs buffs or needs nerfs, right? Like not, oh my God, this is so broken, game's broken. Because the reality is, it's preseason. The game is always broken, always. That's the inherent state of preseason. So like, let me just get that out there. Game's broken right now, will be for a couple of months. That will not change. The state of the game is in pandemonium right now. That's how preseason works. That's why rank doesn't matter, and this is what we're doing, right? So this isn't about what's broken right now, because what's broken right now will not be what's broken come like January, right? It just won't be the same. So this is more about like what do you do to optimize builds. So like with Katarina in particular, a lot of people built tank on her. I don't think that's a build that's going to stick around, simply because yes, you can build tank and build some things that give on hit, as well as being a tank. And yeah, I suppose that's somewhat viable because you're hard to kill. But mostly, I feel like that specific strategy is viable because tank items are a bit overtuned, not because it actually works or has
Right.
synergy. You see what I'm getting at? So, like, what have you guys been playing with that you've found to be? I know, like, Double, you've been really disappointed that Warwick doesn't seem to have an item that has any kind of real synergy, or
I mean, I've now that I've had like the better Warwicks, like Perennialiacs or whatever his fucking name is, and King Sticks. The more prominent Warwicks have sort of given us a guide about, just building Sunfire, being the best item, and then moving into different stuff. My biggest issue, particularly with Warwick, and particularly any jungler that sort of is reliant on Tiamat, is how shitty Tiamat is now. Like Tiamat is 1,200 fucking gold and doesn't build into any mythics. So if you're a jungler, you have to buy your jungle item. You buy your jungle smite item, get that. If you're a Tiamat jungler, you have to spend 1,200 on Tiamat, and then maybe you get to start building your mythic, which is interesting. Like I think a lot of people have sort of jumped. I think people are not necessarily playing the game optimally, but everybody's rushing a mythic item whether it's meta or not because they want to try out the items. Like that's what people are doing. But I'm curious to see as metas evolve whether mythics will be a first item or a second item, for different people, and the pros and cons of that.
so.
But
Out of curiosity,
yeah,
are you building first or second mythic?
I've tried it both ways, and I've been fine either way. Like I just, for some reason, his early damage, like there were a couple games, one of them was with you, where I had somebody down to like 100 health and my Q didn't kill them,
Yeah.
which was very odd to me. Like that was something was weird about that, because like that numbers wise, like I know my champion's limits and what should kill. And it didn't seem to do that for some reason. And I actually went back and looked at old jungle items to see if they gave me any stats that I was missing or anything like that. But so I've tried Sunfire Rush, and that's where I've had the most success. Is building a Tiamat, go ahead and just do that, rush into Sunfire, and then Deadman's, because Deadman's is absolutely insane. Deadman is a great fucking item. You get 5% movement speed boost no matter what. It's like Moby Boots, except it never turns off. So I was happy with that. But the problem is like, no matter what, like being a one trick, and I think that mythics are going to kind of just. I think this season is going to kill one tricks to a certain extent, or make them much less desirable. Because now
I do want to come back. I want to put a pin in that and come back
that's
to
fine.
it.
And this is very early. Like I'm not like chiseling this in stone. This is just my first impression.
That's a discussion I want to end the podcast with, is like the viability of one tricking, because right before this recording, I got into it with Ponderous. Well, mostly he just ranted, and I sat and listened about the viability.
Are you sure it was Ponderous?
Yeah.
Okay, that's very unlike him.
Yeah. So the viability of like one tricks versus flavor of the month, because traditional wisdom was one tricks have an advantage versus flavor of the month, whatever. And yeah, I do want to get into that at the end. But so like building mythics first or second, like I've tried both, and I've tried building it second. I've tried to like get into the concept of like, well, maybe you build a situational item first and then save up some money, use that earlier power spike to try to generate a lead, and then transition, you get to your mythic faster that way. I've found that the mythics are just too powerful and the components are almost too good. to like justify taking it second. At least that's been my experience. Like, I feel like any advantage that you got by trying to complete another item isn't significant enough to delay the advantage you get out of a mythical super item.
For laning, sure.
Yeah.
Like the problem is for jungling is, right now I think Krugs are just absolutely the most important camp. 100%.
Mm.
The little Krugs give you 12 gold a piece now. That's a ton of money. It's a ton of EXP. And now with Gromp healing you instead of the Scuttle Crab healing you, like it kind of prioritizes doing Krugs more, in my opinion, and saving your Gromp is like a little bit of a refresh. But jungle camps don't hurt at all now. I played a game with Orange Jungle, and I didn't recall ever. The only time I went to Fountain was when I died. I never recalled. Like he just can clear endlessly, over and over and over again. You know, just clearing away, building more shit. So that was an interesting experiment. And like, you know, I think if you're a Tiamat jungler, it boils down to, like I said, diminishing margins. I think I can get, yes, am I delayed in getting my mythic item by rushing a Tiamat? Yeah, but it's kind of like in TFT when you put money in the bank. Buying a Tiamat allows me to clear so much faster and so much more. I didn't mean to like zig heil there. Sorry, that was weird. Completely unintentional.
So much.
I just realized that you just go with the Tiamat. Dein Tiamat und the Kampen. So you just go and
so
do that.
What you're saying is whenever you clear camps with the Tiamat, you really concentrate on the camps?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I really do. Like, that's another shift is like I've had to move away from the typical 3-camp buff, 3-camp clear to being, I think farming junglers are super like the way to go right now. That's where I think the meta is going to be, just because it's the easier, more reliable way to get money as a jungler. And the other issue is with the EXP changes, man, like mid and top lane have a 3-level advantage on me at 6 minutes. Like I can't gank a level 7 fucking Darius at a level 5. So if you have a lane that loses, it's especially a solo lane that like gives up an early lead, very difficult.
It feels really snowbally right now.
Yeah,
I just know
I
know it's going to be that way, but yeah, it does feel really snowbally.
So I mean, let me ask you this then: like, wouldn't we see a shift in the meta towards just lane dominant picks? Because if a jungler has difficulty intervening at all but the earliest points in the game, then wouldn't it follow that like any lane dominant bullies are going to be incredibly meta then?
I have been able to gank. It's not like I can't. It's just it's less like the because of the camps being so easy to clear and because of their spawn timers being super fast, you lose so much now on a gank. Like, because linear clearing and having camps always available to pick is now the most efficient part of the equation.
Sure.
From what I can tell, because it's a race to at least until you get your mythic item. Because the goal as a jungler is to just get your mythic as quickly as possible. And if you're a Tiamat, it's even worse. The really busted one is fucking if you're a Triforce jungler like Vi, Hecarim, holy shit, because Sheen is 700 gold.
Yeah.
It's 700 gold for that item. And Tiamat, which builds into fucking nothing, is 1,200 gold.
Yeah.
So like if you've got a jungler that has an AoE ability, like it's just super busted. You can make up for the deficit if you know what you're doing. And I mean, like, I don't know. I wasn't playing ranked games, so I don't think that my quality of my opponent was really that good. And I haven't played enough sample size to really know, but these are just sort of my first impressions. Like,
sure,
Hecarim is way busted right now just because of his jungle clear. Like, he can power farm so fast. And now you don't have to fight over the scuttles as much because you don't need that health and mana regen. And the other cool thing is that the jungle items have been combined. So like now I don't have mana issues. On old, if I went machete first, and I wanted to do red Krugs or red Raptors Krugs, I'm out of mana by the time I finish my bottom clear, and I have no mana for the blue. And if I get invaded on it, I'm fucked. Last season, I can't fight scuttles, and then it's just game over. So it was too risky to do a bot side full clear. Now I've got both a machete and a hunter's talisman in my kit automatic after 350 gold, so I never run out of mana. I can still apply the hunter's talisman mini burn. It's not enough to where you don't need to buy Tiamat, but at the same time, like I can clear what I've been clearing is red Raptors, Krugs, blue, Gromp, Wolves, Raptors, Krugs, and then if I can work a Scuttle or a Gank in, that's fine. And by then, I've got some cash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real quick on the whole, do you build the Mythic first? At least from my perspective. So I've been playing Brand, Malzahar, Teemo, and Zillion. You know, the last two of those being my main champs. And I'm building Leandries on most of those, and I'm building it as my second item or third item almost every single time.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
what are you building before that you think gives value?
Well, okay, kind of depends, but on Teemo and Zillion, on Zillion, for instance, I'll build Cosmic Drive after I'll start tier and go Cosmic Drive for CDR, or for Ability Haste, as we're calling it now, right? Because the main things that Zillion kind of wants is going to be mana and cooldown. And so I can usually get by just by going for those stats and then getting the Mythic later. He doesn't need those like really crazy passives on the Mythics and the extra damage to make him effective. He just needs to be able to spam his abilities as fast as possible and not run out of mana while doing it.
Yeah.
With Teemo, I'm doing Demon's Embrace first because like Demon's Embrace and Leandries together kind of equal the old Leandries, which is really what he needed for his core damaging item. So I go Demon's Embrace first. It gives him a little bit of health and stuff so he can kind of survive. And then I go Leandries because he doesn't really need mana. Plus that passive on Leandries is really only effective once you have another legendary item to go with it for that extra ability haste, because it gives you extra ability haste for each legendary item that you have. So it's not a huge rush to get that item. I figure if I was building like Ludens as my mythic, I might want to go that first, right? Or Rift Maker. I think that's what the other one's called. That one could be a good mythic to go first because it gives magic penetration and it's efficient almost immediately. But in general, I found that for my champions and for AP champions in general, it's okay to go mythic second and you're fine. As long as you get the things that your champion needs at the core of their kits to do what they do best. I don't know what it is for AD champions, though. But I can't really speak to it. And certainly junglers, you know.
And like the way what made me go to Mythic second was the argument that I saw, and I was like, I'm going to try this out. Was the argument was saying that like the real power of Mythics isn't in their passive, it's in the boost that you get from other legendaries. Like that's where the real power lies.
Okay, that's basically what I'm doing then. Yeah.
So if you have a legendary and you finish it first and then build your Mythic, it's not as big of a disadvantage as people think.
Right.
And I mean, but that's also very kit dependent. I think, you know, if your mythic has an active component, or for example, Sunfire, which is just busted and super great for fast jungle clearing, since clearing seems to be a major factor.
Sure.
Then you're fine. And the other thing is, I think Triforce as a mythic is really cost efficient just because of how much Sheen costs, and now it builds into Caulfields instead of Phage. Like holy shit.
Yeah.
The components on Triforce are amazing.
That and they made it 3-3-3-3.
Oh yeah.
Which is, you know, pleasant. So like the biggest things I want to talk about are like there are certain ones of these that I haven't seen anybody build.
Okay.
Right? Like so like ADC items, they all feel terrible. Like I don't really get the impression that anybody's happy with the current state of ADC's itemization. Because like what you're supposed to have is like
Eclipse seems really strong on MF. I've
okay.
witnessed that a few times.
For the people at home, what is Eclipse? And for me.
For
Like,
the people at home, click,
gives her,
click,
like,
click,
flat
click.
damage, right? Which is
Yeah.
like good for her.
Well, I mean, like I'll just
just
start.
real quick, what's
I mean,
the,
we can
what's,
start
give
it.
me
We
the,
can just start at the top and say like Gale Force. Have you seen anybody build this item?
I've not seen anybody
Nope.
build Gale Force. I've heard people talk about it.
Well, like I would have expected that an item that gives you a targeted like mini Ari ult would have been purchased. You know what I mean? Like I would expect to have seen it. Is it just is the reason that we're not seeing it? Is it dramatically undertuned? Like what's the holdup here? Because it's got a lot of good stats. I mean, it's got seriously everything that you would want out of being an ADC.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know.
So real quick, back to Eclipse. Hitting an enemy champion with 2 separate attacks or abilities within 1.5 seconds deals 6% of a target's maximum health as bonus physical damage, and grants you 15% movement speed. And also empowers your other legendary items with 4% armor penetration. So yeah, that's hella good for MF. It gives her movement speed, that gives her Omnivamp, flat attack damage, a lot of it, which is what she wants. And yeah, that passive every Rising Moon for maximum health damage sounds awesome. I don't know. I've seen a lot of solo lane ADCs as a result of these items do very, very well. So your mid lane Tristanas, I've seen top Lucian, I've seen top MF, and like they all seem to be doing pretty well. Bot lane, maybe not as much, but I think that's because more of what's going on with the support items than what's going on with the ADC items.
Okay, so like, which support items do you think are particular offenders?
Imperial Mandate seems pretty strong.
It
Let's
does.
see. And the Enchanter items in general. What's the other one?
Well, I mean, if you're not building those, people have been building Leandries.
Yeah. Okay.
But you know, like I said, it feels weird to me because like Imperial Mandate seems super strong on certain, like on Karma. It's been particularly strong because she has the ability to apply it and stay in.
Yeah.
And
it's really good on Iron too.
Yeah, I could see that. And you know, it gives additional damage when she's already got some sustain in her kit and things like that. So like I could see something like that. I've not really played against anybody who's running like a healing package because there's so much burst that I don't think healing is effective right now. If that makes sense. Like the fights don't go long enough. You know what I mean? For like, oh well, you're low. Let me just boop 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 top you off. But that should be effective because generally healing is the most effective when tanks are strong. And we're in a meta right now where like 5 tanks kind of wins.
They definitely beat the shit out of Baron without autoing it.
Oh, you saw that new the Mumu video?
I saw the Amumu one where he did it with two items at 20 minutes, and then my favorite was five people all rushed Sunfire Aegis, hopped into the Baron pit, and just stood there and killed it. They didn't attack. They didn't do anything. They just stood there.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
I
The stacking is a problem that kind of has to be fixed.
I think they'll get that one right.
Yeah, I think they will too.
And I think honestly you can adjust, you can tweak that to do more damage to minions so that it still has its jungle viability and wave clear viability without being insane in team fights. But you know, it's I don't mind a tank meta.
I don't mind a tank meta either.
I mean, I do kind of. The only thing that I truly am like, is like, there are some items that they've previously learned a lesson on, like Locket. when Locket is strong, it distorts a whole bunch of the game in invisible ways. And they have not fixed that issue with Locket. So like before, they're like, hey, we don't like that the passive effect, like where it gives out a bunch of tanky stats, is a passive effect. We want to take a lot of that away and then put it into the shield. So you have a visible effect. And then they're like, well, no, the shield's too powerful, so we're just going to kind of 3/4 gut the item. But it still does what it's intended to do, and that's give you a shield. Like, okay. I come back and I look at Locket now, and every item you buy makes the passive armor and magic regeneration of that item stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that this is why you got rid of the item in the first place. Keep in mind, they made it a mythic, so in doing this, you're surrendering other power from, in other words, you're foregoing a different mythic that could do a different thing, so maybe it's okay because all the mythics are crazy,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know if that's the balancing
No,
tick.
not all of them. Some of them are fucking
Some of them are
worthless.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are absolutely shit. Like,
Absolutely worthless. Like Gore Drinker.
I honestly, I think Kraken Slayer.
I think Kraken Slayer is kind of
Kraken
underwhelming.
Like Kraken Slayer is very underwhelming. I took my Victorious Lucian for a test spin with it, looking to build Kraken. I didn't, I'm a terrible Lucian, but at the same time, like, I was expecting a big, like, visible, feel good thing when I bought it, and I was like, this doesn't feel any different.
So I also have not been impressed with Rift Maker.
I
and-
like that one.
Well, here's why. Because like I was thinking to myself, this looks like it's going to be billed as the Gunblade replacement. Like it's going to give you Omnivamp, all legendary items, generate magic penetration. Okay, this is a damage thing. It's like I bet this would be really good on Katarina. And it felt
Only
like
if you both are tanky.
well, I felt like I didn't have a power spike. And I mean,
No.
the reality is like I get health, but I get less than I get from the Night Harvester. I get AP, but I get the exact same amount as I get from Night Harvester. I get the same amount of ability haste, and then I get Omnivamp. I'm like, okay, well that's good, but I would prefer to have upfront burst damage.
I think it's a great item for people who want to 1v1. Like if people want to sideline and push,
right. But
it's awesome.
What I'm getting at is I don't feel the sustain from this item, and maybe it's just because I wasn't in combat long enough.
I think that's probably.
Or like I was just dying too fast, or it's just not a good fit on what I was trying to do. But like it struck me as incredibly like I didn't feel like it was doing the things that it was supposed to do. I could feel my shit hitting harder, but I didn't feel like I was this omni-vamping sustain monster.
Yeah.
You know, like Gunblade felt like. Like Gunblade, whenever I played Katarina, I was like, oh yeah, I got Gunblade. I get shit back. I do more damage. I can slow you. This feels good. This is everything I need. This didn't. It fell short for me. But maybe you had a different experience. What other champions?
I took a top with Nashers and with Gargoyle Stoneplate.
On who though?
What's that?
On
Teemo. Yeah. So like one auto attack procs it, right? Because it once the tick damage goes through. And then as long as you have any sort of like health or armor or whatever else resistances to sustain yourself through the fight, you can basically 1v1 anyone to death, like slowly. And it's kind of like having like mallet in terms of like damage, that old style on hit build. Yeah, I love it. It's just very situational for me. I wouldn't take it on mid laner. I'd take it on a top laner, AP, which is not many. But yeah, anybody who's going to sustain long fights like that. Kennen actually would be really good top lane. Rumble might be good, really good top lane with Riftmaker. Yeah, that kind of shit.
So like there was another item that I found particularly troublesome, and this is why I didn't want to do this last week, is because I thought this item is going to make a lot of different kits broken. But since its release, I haven't seen it built once. Everfrost. The one that shoots like
Yeah,
a line
I
of
mean,
snow or cold, and then if you're in the middle, it roots you.
yeah. So when I saw that item when it was first like launched or whatever, the preseason video of that item being used, my initial feeling and my like was like, that's dumb. That's bullshit. Why would I buy that? I'm sure the active is better than old GLP or whatever it's replacing, right? But like, it's not good enough for a mythic compared to some of these other passives that are out there. Like,
I mean, it feels like it would be particularly good on like Vigor, and that's really it. And even then, wouldn't you rather have other
wouldn't you
shit?
rather have something else? Yeah, that did more damage or something. Yeah,
Well, I mean, he's gonna
absolutely.
like he himself is gonna provide the damage, and then the fact that you get 15 AP from all your other items is significant. I mean, you're gonna
Sure.
build 4 other items, so that's 60 AP. Because boots don't count, you know?
I would think you would want what's the night harvester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like movement speed, right?
No,
For every
that
new one he hits, I think. Wait, no, I'm thinking of
no.
Wishmaker.
Yes, it is. He damages an enemy champion, dealing additional damage with a pretty sick AP ratio, and grants you 25% movement speed for 1.5 seconds. So yeah, that would be really good on him.
Yeah, I would rather have that than the CC active. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you hit somebody's center with Vigor, it's like I think this would be particularly devastating late.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Like, because you
sure.
already have damage by virtue of your kit passively giving you damage every time you hit anything.
Yeah, I play
And then
Viger. I should try this out.
it's about landing the cage. Because that's what GLP was. It's like, oh, well, this makes it easy to
True.
land the cage.
I would personally rather have Ludens on Vigar than this, but yeah.
And I
should try that.
actually I think that's also that's a viable point because the Luden gives you so much magic pen that
Yep.
is a stat you need with Vigor because you
Yep.
already have AP.
The AP, yep.
And he also benefits very well from actually having mana.
Yeah.
So, and because that's a problem you have to solve with your build at some point. So, yeah, I thought that item was actually going to get a lot more juice than it got, right?
Yep.
And then the other end is like, it feels like everybody and their dog is building Leandries, but I don't know if that's because Leandries is strong or
It's
if
good.
that's because tanks are too strong. And it's
No,
a
it's just
response
good.
to tanks.
It might be a response to tanks. I don't know. I typically build most of my mages to be able to deal decent damage to tanks, and that might be just because I play Brand and Malzahar, right?
Right.
Who are anti-tank mages. So I don't really know, but I'm finding myself wanting to build Leandries on Zillion, which I didn't really build Leandries on Zillion before. And even though it's a similar damage style item,
I mean, aside from like maybe Ludens, what else would you build on them?
on Zillion,
Mm-hmm.
I mean Imperial Mandate, but yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're running support in particular, you wouldn't want to run that in a solo lane, though, would you?
Sure, why not? I mean,
Because
like as long as
you don't have another person to proc it until you get to team fights.
True, but that's basically all you're doing mid to late game with Zillion.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. And he's a kit where it's like you're inherently supportive, so forgoing your own power spike for later would be fine, I guess.
Yeah.
But okay. All right. So what other like fairly dominant items like the Duskblade? Everybody was like shitting bricks about that. Oh my God! All these champions are going to be invisible all the time. Have you guys had an issue with Duskblade? I haven't really seen it all that much.
I haven't seen an invisible champion, and I don't mean that in a
Nice.
joking way.
I haven't seen it. I just keep dying out of nowhere.
Haven't seen it. I'm sure it's great on Yi.
Yeah.
That would be somebody I would expect. You would think Talon would benefit from it, but not really.
Well, Kha'Zix was like the big offender.
Kha'Zix would be a good one. Yeah, I could see that happening.
I haven't seen a lot of Kha'Zix, actually. I don't know.
Well, and again, I think it's largely like there's not a lot of room for Duskblade of Drakthar to shine in a tank meta.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I have lethality, and everybody has 300 armor. Hooray. You know, you better be invisible because you're going to need to get the fuck out of there. And,
Right.
you know, but like I said, it felt like an item that everybody was scared of, and I don't know that it's not an
I think
item
it's
to be scared of.
I think it's
just
a couple of things. Number one, tank meta, and number two, it's like ADCs are just fucking weak.
Well, that
Like
was
the
supposed
ADC
to be built on AD assassins, though. Like ADCs weren't supposed to pick that up.
No, but the value of an assassin, like the assassin value, is eliminating a high-profile target.
Oh, okay, I follow what you're saying now.
Yeah. So like, if there's no, like, I guess the mid laner, but like now there's just, it seems like the value of a team fight is more evenly spread, whereas in season 7, season 8, it was all about get your ADC fed and they will win the team fight. And
Right.
then the assassin was just the counter to that.
Yeah.
So it was like, keep the ADC alive. And there's still a little bit of that, but I still think that like these items did not revive the long lost role of attack damage carry.
No. I mean, I think that all the ADC items need buffing, but then whenever you do buff them, you get back
Everybody
into
else
that
gets
same ADC trick where everybody else gets it and then they kill an ADC with it.
Yeah.
But I will get back to ADC items because there is a redeemable ADC item that's also even more annoying on like a Graves jungle. But
Ooh, do
has
tell.
has anybody seen Turbo Chem Tank? I didn't even know that was an item.
Thought I saw it on Singed. I could be wrong.
It's specifically designed for him.
It's
but
thematically even. Yeah, it's all designed for Singed. Speaking of the graves that you were talking about, did anybody see Sneaky's video on Reddit?
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened?
So Sneaky's like 10-3, and there's a Graves that's like 1-4, and Sneaky's lighting this dude up, but the Graves has like 300 armor because of his passive and because of Immortal Shield Bow. Just survives through everything Sneaky's trying to do and then kills him.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow. A 1-4 guy just beat like a 10-3. ADCs are totally useless. Like you just don't.
Yeah.
You just don't have it. You know.
He even got his passive procced off his jigs twice during that fight, and it still didn't matter.
So it's like, Immortal Shield Bow helps marksmen survive against burst damage and fight their way back from the brink. Marksmen need this. You know, you do 50 AD, 15 attack speed, 20% crit, 12% lifesteal. These are all amazing ADC stats in one spot. Lifeline. Everybody should know this passive by now, but when you take damage that reduces you below 30% health, gain a 250 to 700 point shield for 3 seconds. Additionally, gain 15% lifesteal for 8 seconds on a 90-second cooldown. And all other legendary items get 5 AD and 50 health. Yeah, that's just really, really good. Like, really good. Solves all of your ADC problems, to be totally honest. Like, I don't think there's a comparable item.
What's the name of it again?
It's called Immortal Shield Bow. And like, Kraken Slayer has also been a pretty large disappointment. Every third basic attack deals 60 plus 30% bonus AD true damage. It gives all other legendary items 10% attack speed, and it'll give you 60 AD, 25% attack speed, and 20% crit chance. And the item sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a mini Vayne is what it's supposed to feel like, but in practice, it just doesn't do anything significant. Like, you don't feel it. You don't feel the amount of damage it gives as to what's supposed to be mythic.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Other items that you guys have. I haven't seen Frostfire Gauntlet. which is basically the new Iceborne.
I have not at all seen that item.
Haven't
Nobody's
seen
going to build that with Sunfire being where it is.
So like, really, it looks like we're in kind of a deal where one item of your mythic category is outshining every other. And then it's, do we have a synergy? Does your champion have a specific synergy with an item that justifies building it instead of everything else?
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think like I wanted to touch on this topic about this might be a problem with the game. We've seen this power creep of new champions and how there's like an S tier of champions released. And my fear is that they're not going to fix that. And now they're introducing another thing that's going to be really hard to balance. So
Sure.
if you have an S tier champion and they synergize really well with an S tier item, for whatever 2 weeks it takes Riot to fix that item, then you're just going to see this revolving door of broken ass fucking shit. And that scares me.
All right, so that
Great for pro play.
well, I mean that
Shitty for us.
that actually is a pretty excellent transition into what I wanted to finish the podcast with anyway.
Yep.
So I got into a game with Ponderous, and Ponderous is
Truth or Dare
like-
or League?
no league.
Spin the bottle at
Is
it.
it- yeah,
Spin the
okay.
bottle. So yeah, after 7 minutes in heaven, Ponderous was telling me.
It was 2.5 tops.
Yeah. Ponderous was telling me about like hard rant, because he's basically like, it doesn't matter. You have champions that distort the game in such a way that the game has fundamentally shifted towards the flavor of the week or month being the outcome determinant champion, and no longer, this is his, and I'll open the floor to this in a minute, but this is his point of view, is that no longer is skill and experience on a champion greater than flavor of the month horseshit. Like, flavor of the month horseshit has now outweighed, like his exact words, you could play 10 games on Yone and be better than me with like 300 games on Tryndamere. You will have a harder game impact with 10 games on Yone than you would at 300 on Tryndamere. And I have a hard time debating that point. Right? And like, it could be that I was getting my shit stomped in by a Yone that game, but the power creep in new kits and how they feel in terms of oppressiveness and fight windows, I don't know that old champions can still hold a candle. So then we get put in a situation where it's like, do we only are able to play new or reworked champions that have been beneficiaries of this power creep? Are old champions just dead unless they particularly synergize with a broken item? And then how do you, if let's say they synergize with a broken item, when you nerf that item, you kill the champion, or what do? Do you leave the item alone, but what happens if Samira synergizes with it? You know what I mean? Like, you're in a nightmare scenario where there's so many balls to juggle here, and the meta wasn't settled before.
Yeah, I think you've laid it out pretty straightforward. My answers are yes, this is absolutely the case. 2, this has been the case already for a long time. When I first started playing League, my first encounter with this, like brick wall encounter with this, was with Yasuo and Echo when they were first released, with Mallet building tank and going top lane. And I killed them in lane 7 times. Like, I would be 7-0 and I would still lose to these champions, like, ultimately. And it was just like hitting a brick wall with, it doesn't matter what they do, they can just throw themselves at me and they have more impact on the game than I can ever hope to have. And And for the last part of that is, at this point, I don't care. I kind of know that's the game I'm playing. And I know it sucks to a certain degree. And like, I'm going to rant about a Kali or Aurelia or whoever, when they first get released or reworked. But like, at the end of the day, the reason why I one trick is because that's what makes me happy, is playing that champion and doing the things on that champion that I enjoy. I don't enjoy playing Flavor of the Month. And so I'm not, even if it causes me to have more impact, or even if it causes me to win more games, that's just not who I am as a player.
I mean,
I like
sure,
playing with familiar stuff.
but you're supposed to be rewarded for investing time in a champion. That's supposed to be a reward.
I haven't felt that reward in a very long time, and I still keep playing this game. So I've come to terms with that.
I don't feel like it's been. I mean, okay. Let me back up.
Who feels rewarded by playing League in general?
Ouch. I mean, okay, fair enough. But isn't that
who walks away from our experience in this game happy?
But I mean, really though, isn't that a problem?
Yeah,
like isn't the fact that like
women, like
it is why this game is going to die at some point. Yeah,
because it's like I don't. Okay. Classic Lola, 100 episodes ago, 200 episodes ago, we would have told you if you want to climb, pick a champion that you really enjoy, play the shit out of it, learn every matchup back and forward with that champion. You will do better, you will climb higher, you'll peak harder. And then you can learn things once you've peaked that cross apply and maybe change to a different champion, or just you have an easier way to focus on your individual progression because the champion is natural to you, right? I think we've hit a point where that advice no longer holds.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Disagree. In terms of
I mean, in what part do you disagree? Do you disagree
in terms of context? Because like if we're talking about Lola, this all of us are talking about the game at our elo, right? Where this stuff and this skill expression matters. In fucking bronze and silver, yeah, it doesn't matter, right? Like we don't tell people to pick one champion because picking one champion is like the way to climb. It's a subterfuge. We tell people to pick one champion or similar types of champions so that they can understand that archetype and learn other fundamentals that will carry them into higher playing ability. Okay. Sure. Like that's my opinion. It's like if you're not wrestling with how the champion works or the limit testing of the champion, then you're free to unlock other parts of your brain to put mental APM onto like looking at your mini map, looking at this, doing these fundamentals that we've talked about. So yes, I think we've hit a brick wall to a certain extent when you're trying to bust back into Diamond, where flavor of the month, I think it is significantly harder to get from P4 to wherever, because I mean I finished at P2 as a one trick than it is to be somebody who can do flavor of the month. But like there's no flavor of the month requirement, and I think the difference is marginalized the lower down the elo that you get. So I don't think that advice is bad, considering that the audience for that advice are iron, bronze, silver, gold players.
Right. Well, you have more things to work on than champion impact.
Exactly.
Sure.
Okay, I get that. I still think picking a champion that magnifies what you put into it is still the best way to maximize your individual impact at any elo, right? Like, for example, if I play Teemo, right? Like Zill, if I play Teemo,
okay,
and I get really, really good with Teemo, that every lead I generate makes me 1.5 times as relevant in the game, right?
Sure.
If I put that same amount of time or any amount of time into Yone, let's say I played 25 games of Yone, or Yone, if I'm being that guy. I put 25 games into Yone. I feel like my multiplier is like a 2 already. Why would I hard cap aside from really enjoying playing the champion, why would I hard cap myself at time and a half when I could, at an eighth of the effort, get twice my effectiveness back out of it. Like it's the table pays more for your bet if
Yeah, it
you're
does.
if you're playing a better
It
champion.
does.
You know,
Straight up.
and I think that like the fact of what you said earlier, where you're like, oh, now that there's like triple S tier champions, like there used to be like D through S, right? And now there's D through S plus 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 plus. You know, and that's fucked. Like, well, like it's to a point where if you looked on Reddit even a week ago, pro players were saying, if you're an ADC, why are you playing anything that's not named Samira? She can do everything, and she's busted, and she does shit tons of damage, and she can't lose. Like even if you get behind, you still kill the other ADC in a 1v1 because you can block all their damage and they die before your shield goes down and they can't fight you back. Like,
Should be reason enough, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is, if you go in, which you can do from 300 miles away, and you hit your whole kit with an S ready to ult, they're dead, and they can't shoot you back.
And I want to point this out for the viewers at home and our newer people, what we mean by D plus, like D tier to S plus plus tier. And there's a very simple way. You might be saying, well, what tier is my champion? It's really simple. If your passive is one sentence, you're a D tier. And if your passive is 8 fucking paragraphs, you're S plus 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 tier. And then, you know, just work it out through the middle. Like I remember like Nasus is passive.
Get
8%
life
life
steal.
steal.
Yeah.
It's like 8% life steal. That's like 6 syllables.
Yep.
8% life steal. 5 syllables is his passive. Samira has a goddamn PhD dissertation that gets defended. Like a video, you hover the thing, a video of somebody from Riot pops up and explains.
So
like
you, it's like
got
the fucking Microsoft paperclip comes up and it's like, did you want to learn about Samira's passive?
I was thinking like the guy who did the LOL Society videos.
Yeah.
Pops up
Hi.
with his accent.
Hi, this
Today
is
we're going to be
Froxon.
talking
We're talking about
passive.
Samira's passive in this 1 hour and 17-minute video. Buckle up. Like,
While you're looking for your health potions, let's review her passive.
Nice. That was good. I did find him within an hour and 17 minutes. But I mean, that, like, to Ponderous's point, like, he actually said to me, I finally figured it out, why I hate the game so much. Because Ponderous does fucking hate this game. Talk to him at any
Well,
moment.
he hates it when he's losing.
No, he hates it when he's winning, too. There's
That's
nothing
fair.
that, I mean, the man is a fucking fountain of bile and hatred whenever he plays League.
I
Period.
guess he's just a better podcaster than me. I guess he's
Just a better podcaster than me.
He's just a better podcaster.
He's farming mid.
He's it. This game, this podcast. Oh my God, this podcast.
Yeah, for all of you uninitiated that haven't played with Ponderous,
And I love him,
That's-
but I love making fun of him too.
no, that is a pretty damn good impression, like, during the game. Guy's just a fucking better laner than me. Gets
Don't
just
worry.
fucking better.
Don't worry. Mari's getting the mid farm.
But, like, no, I, like,
My
to be
favorite was
fair,
when he ran on Dawn today. He was like, "What'd you go 6-0 in lane, Dawn? Did you have fun? Did you have fun playing the game? Did you think you were gonna win this game?" And then like,
do you think you were going to have a fucking impact, dumbass? That one was my favorite. He was like, do you think you were going to
yeah.
have an impact on this game and carry it, dumbass? Is that what he thought? And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Jesus.
he's right, but Jesus.
I mean, he's right, but yeah.
So, like, to Michael's credit, though, he finally, like, he said to me the other day, just out of nowhere, he, like, Discord calls me because that's what he does. And he's like, I figured it out. I was like, what did you figure out? Why I fucking hate this game? What's so fucking wrong with this game? And I go, oh, do tell. He's like, it's champion design. Champion design, particularly new champions, have literally ruined the game because they're too much, they're unbalanceable, or they're just not healthy.
The
For the
only
game.
reason I've ever filled out one of those surveys and filled in the paragraphs where they ask you, like, if there's something we can change about League, what should it be? is new champions. That's the only thing that I actually have ever went off on a rant about to Riot in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
So, and then, like,
This is
I was
the
like,
answer.
actually, and I got to thinking about it because I wanted to argue with him because that's kind of what I do. It's
Sure.
like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's this other thing, or maybe you're just a salty bitch. Like, whatever, right? But, like, if I sort champions by their release date, and I go back, Seraphine, I don't care about. I don't think she's all that broken. Some people do. I think she's just shitty. Right? Like, it's just an uninspired, shitty Sona Nico. Like, bleh. Just bleh.
She feels like what's that bitch's name with the new jungler that puts you to sleep? What's
Oh,
her fucking name?
Lilia.
Yeah, she feels like Lilia.
I mean,
Like not overly busted, but just like what the fuck.
oh, there was
like
a period where Lilia
that
was
is
straight
true.
dumbass
true.
busted. But I mean, okay, so skip Seraphine because I think she's just a failure, and also I don't think she belongs in the game anyway because the game doesn't need a K-pop singer floating around on a fucking platform in a fucking fighting game.
Her
Doesn't need a fucking cat
OnlyFans
on a
is
book either,
really
but yeah.
tasteful though.
Do
Her
what?
OnlyFans is $4.99 a month, well spent, Simps.
Yeah, like,
Samira,
well, and that's
whoever's drawing those nudes is doing a great fucking job.
I just really I've never seen a champion that is more targeted towards an audience than her, and it's a fail. But regardless, you have her. Samira has been totally fucking busted. Yone is overloaded and fucking busted. Lilia, busted. Set,
Yeah.
also overloaded and busted. Aphelios, busted. Senna, busted. Kiana, I think she's actually still busted, but has flown under the radar. She is super fucking strong in lane, but like she's I guess not fun enough for people to want to pick up, or maybe
She's not edgy
people-
enough for the edgelords, is what it is.
I think people really got used to the Moby Boots rush with her and being able to play that style. And then when Moby Boots got expensive, people stopped having fun with it and found other ways to do that. That's just my first impression.
She's a strange outlier to me because I'm not exactly sure what's keeping her out of the center of being super ridiculously strong, but she is super hard to trade against and completely unforgiving. Like,
Yep.
you can't, if you've played well, this champion is super strong. Yumi is unhealthy for the game and also kind of busted. Like, the fact that they had to tone her heel down and make you get out of the person made her better, but it's just not a healthy pattern for the game. Silas,
His heel man is fucking
his heel
stupid.
is too strong. I mean, but his is a kit that it would be difficult to balance because there's always ults that you can steal and it's on a shorter cooldown than what gates those ults originally. But he's also situational because you have to have good ults to steal to make him.
I'm pretty sure they've changed
strong.
some things about his kit since release, though. Because
Oh,
initially when he came out, he was very fluid and easy to play. Anybody could just beat up on anyone.
Yeah. So, I mean, Silas is, he was in a busted state, but, like, I think he's balanceable. I actually do think he's balanceable. I don't think
Sure.
he is balanced because he has too much healing, but whatever. I'm going to consider him a non-offender on this list, just like I consider Seraphine a non-offender, right? And maybe Kiana a non-offender. Nico, also a non-offender. Pike, okay. I mean, I have to keep going, but Kaisa, non-offender for the most part.
Now is a non-offender. There was an entire pro meta where she was.
And there were times, yeah, when Pike was definitely an offender on that list. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true too. He just wasn't an offender as a support.
Okay.
Like Pike mid was
Yes.
super oppressive for a hot minute.
Zoe, Ornn,
Awful.
both.
Remember when Ornn's W did everything? Like,
Yes.
at once?
Yep.
And Zoe still one-shots you for no reason, but used
Well-
to one-shot you without even trying.
One shot you for no reason from a mile away, and if you get hit, you're dead. It's exactly the same problem they had with Nidalee, except they went back and like rewrote history and were like, oh no, Nidalee's problem isn't that she could, 100% you with a spear. Her problem was that she could do that while being so mobile.
Yeah.
So if we take away the mobility, and it's like, no, nobody cared that Nidalee was mobile. That just made it more painful. They didn't want to get hit with one spear and die.
Right.
Like, oh, so I got hit with a spear and now I have to recall. That's what they didn't want. And Zoe does that.
Yeah, and you're looking at the list based on champion release date, right?
Yeah.
So this doesn't even factor in like Volley
To
Bear.
reworks. Yes.
I mean, the
no,
reworks
I'm not even factoring in reworks yet. But let's just going that far back because the next three are Kane, Rakan, Zaya, then Camille, and
Camille's
then
busted as fuck.
then
Camille's
Ivern,
fucking
Kled. So like for
Ivern's
every
a non-factor, yeah.
Ivern's a non-factor. He's a miss. Kled is still super oppressive, by the way. And then like it takes me all the way back to Kled, Talia, Aurelian Soul, Jin, Alawi, Kindred. Now I'm to the point where I'm not feeling like these champions are so fucking busted. Do you know how far back I have to go before I get to that point? And I'm drawing the line at Talia because Kled is the one before that, right? Talia was released in 2016.
2016, yep.
And okay.
And we're not even talking about all the remakes.
And yeah, that's not including the Akali rework.
Oh God.
It's not including the Volley Bear rework.
The Fiddlesticks rework.
The Aurelia.
But still.
I think Fiddle's okay, but
yeah.
I like that one's fine, I think. But like
Pantheon.
Pantheon's Pantheon. Why does he, a champion that's focused on spear attacks, have a better shield than Braum, a champion who is a shield? What the fuck does this make sense?
Aurelia.
Yeah, like if I take all of these champions in a ball, all of them outclass every other champion that exists in the game by a mile.
And so I'm going to go down. You said 2016. Like I'm going to read off a list of like 2012, right? Just here we go. And I'm going to just pick. Okay, Syndra, not bad, not busted. Rengar, Diana, Zyra, Jace, Draven, Darius, Varus, Hecarim, Lulu, Fiora, Nautilus. Like none of like.
I would never waste a ban on any one of those champions.
Maybe Hecarim, but I'm a jungler. There was a time when I was banning Hecarim, but like none of them make me sick to my stomach.
Well, and that's the thing is like you may have banned these champions because they were strong or strong in the meta, but you didn't ban these champions because they were game distortingly broken.
Yeah.
And that's my point. Yeah. Right? And it's like it's only exacerbated by the fact that I had to go back 4 years to not, and that's discluding. It's not including reworks, and I have like an 80% power is game distorting. Like 1 out of every 5 of those champions that I listed were we like, that's a non-factor, right? Mm-hmm. It felt like 70-80% were problems, game distorting problems.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm not even considering champions that were like broken on release and brought into.
That's what we were just talking about on the Twitch chat.
These are like Jin was busted but brought into balance. And that's fine. I'm talking about champions whose kits are not balanceable because they have too much shit in them. Like look at all the shit they tried to take out of Akali just to make her work, and she's still busted. I played Akali for the first time because I'm trying to learn mid, and somebody picked Katarina, and I was like, I'm gonna play fucking Akali and see if I can figure out, if I get beat as Akali, figure out what part of this is abusable. I won in a lane against a Katarina that I have never even played before, and ended up going like 8-4.
I
on a
accidentally
champion
picked
I've never
Aurelia in a
played.
game, went top and won. I've never played that champion before in my life.
So I don't. There are like this is game distorting because the shit is just so out of line. But then, like what Double was saying is like, well, what happens when a champ that's S tier gets a synergy with one of those items? The gap between S and D tier gets deeper. And that's bad for the game when you have 155 champions and 20 are playable.
It's even worse in a snowbally state when your great champion gets to that power spike that makes them like adds 8 pluses to their S before you did. So then you're like a D minus tier trying to lane against one of these motherfuckers.
Or I go 7-0 in lane and I'm irrelevant because a Yone got 3 kills.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's bullshit. Like, there's no reason, like that fucking sneaky video where he's shot Graves like 300 times and he can't do anything against a 1 in 4 Graves. Who kills him? Like, because his champion's not good enough. His items are good enough.
And I find myself saying that all the time with Warwick. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I just lose to a 2-6 jungler now. Like, if I'm 5-1 and you're 2-6, I have 2 levels on you. Like,
and to the point, I am not arguing about scaling champions.
yeah.
That is not my point. And if you think that is my point, no. Like, I have never had a problem with Vayne or Kog'Maw. I accept that, okay. Like, honestly, I think Vayne isn't weak enough in the early game to justify her late game, but at least she requires skill to pilot. I think Kog'Maw is weak enough in the early game to justify his late game, but there's always a point where you're like, okay, I lost to a Kog'Maw. We didn't end the game fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That's a known quantity. But I shouldn't feel like, oh, I lost to a Kog'Maw who's early game dominant lane bully, and also if it gets long, I still lose. Like, that doesn't. A U-shaped win curve. Well, actually, it's just flat. And that's I think the problem is if you're not playing one of those champions or one of the champions that enables those champions, you've chosen to tie a hand behind your back in a fist fight. And I honestly, I think until League addresses that issue, like there were 2 issues that were facing League, and it's this and it's toxicity. And they're finally addressing toxicity. Though I don't think they're putting lip service to toxicity.
There you go. They're putting a PR campaign on toxicity.
I haven't seen results. Though, like, they put out all their stuff. It was like, oh, toxicity is 30% improved. And I'm like, yeah, if 1% of all toxic motherfuckers got banned, now 3% do. Games are still 97% ruined.
Yeah. Donald Trump told me he won the election. Like, Riot told me they dealt with toxicity. It's fine. It's the same thing. It's a tweet. Like, it doesn't have any. It's not value. Like, it's much easier, more cost effective to create the illusion of dealing with toxicity. Same way it's easier and more effective to create the illusion of airport security than it is to actually provide it. Like,
yeah, I suppose that's true. But I mean, those are the major problems affecting League right now. Those are the problems that I think your average player would tell you makes the game like less difficult. And I'm not trying to like this wasn't a I want to bitch at Riot podcast. Like, actually, overall, I think that the items shakeup, I was super nervous about it week 1. And I thought to myself, this is gonna fuck this game. Like, these items are gonna fuck this game. I don't feel that way. Actually, I think it made the game fresh again. I think the items are gated in a way that basically you made a keystone rune out of the item system. And I don't have a problem with it. Items obviously need tuning and adjustment and bumps here and cuts there. But the idea, I think, is sound. Right? Am I alone in that? Do you guys feel this way, or do you think the items are a mistake?
No,
items are fine.
Hard to tell now. I'm not going to commit right now.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
I mean, like, honestly, I think to me, the item changes have yet again, that's what everybody's talking about. But that's not what I'm feeling in my games. What I'm feeling in my games are the jungle changes more than anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, it makes sense for a jungler. I suppose.
well, I mean, like the way the camps are easy to clear and don't cost you anything, and now that you've got machete and talisman built into the same item, tracking a fucking jungler is really fucking hard now. So we've got to figure. I have no idea. Like it's very predictable the last season where somebody's going to be able to farm based on what their first item is and what type of champ they have. With both of those, it's just so much versatility. So tracking is, it's going to be important to get those wards in and try to get eyes on the enemy jungler, stuff like that. It's going to be an interesting adaptation because, like, I think jungles have sort of been unleashed from the patterns that have emerged over the past 2 or 3 seasons. And once we settle into the balance of ganking versus farming, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
right now it feels very farm heavy.
Well, like I said, to me, it does feel snowbally, and like the one thing I did want to talk about is like one of the listeners called me out today actually, and he's like, "Weren't you the guy that was saying you want the games to be more snowbally, like individuals carry harder than teams?" Yeah, I do, but I want that to be through skill expression and not through champ select. And so that's how I reconcile these two positions. I want somebody to beat me in a fair fight and then be able to transition that into a game win without having to like filter their success through their team. Right? Like I would prefer that being the way that shit is. But at the same time, like I don't want to just lose to a broken champion being played mediocre if I play my champion very well and I'm just not relevant. Like that doesn't feel good. The result of the game needs to reflect the input of the players, skill-wise. So, I guess we'll end it there.
No,
you guys
I
have
want
any
to
final
unpack
thoughts?
something real quick.
Go for it.
As quickly as I can. This is kind of like next episode's 300, so I can't talk about it then, and I don't want to wait 2 weeks because I might not even be on the podcast then. There are some, like, I want people who listen to this to know, there are some really fucking under the radar but super fucking cool changes to NA, in the league, or the actual LCS. And the short end of it is they are now going to set up. There's a lot more fluidity between both the amateur scene and the academy scene. Okay, so now academy used to be this own isolated little league that only fought academy, right? Now pro teams are being incentivized to not only have an academy team but also to have an amateur team, and amateurs can only make 25,000. There's other stuff, so they are getting paid to a certain extent. But what's really cool is they're going to have there are 2 tiers of tournaments now. There's tier 2s and tier 1s. 2 tiers are for tier 2 tournaments are for amateur teams, right? So the people that get points in tier 2 tournaments go up to tier 1 tournaments, which also include academy teams. And then they're going to have this big ass tournament called Proving Grounds, which is going to be like sort of a mix of like the top amateur teams and the top academy teams. And I want people to sort of pay attention to this because I think it's really going to be, if you enjoy watching competitive league, I feel like Academy was just so shitty. Like I never watched it. It wasn't a product I was interested in. But if I can watch a tournament where amateurs are taking on an Academy team, that's actually interesting. You know what I mean? Like imagine a LOLA team. Like, you know what I mean? But what's really also cool is that they're selling the licenses to these tournaments. So what that means is, I mean, they have the fee available to like filter out who can do it feasibly. But this means that Tyler One can have an amateur tournament and broadcast it and cast it and have his own fucking tournament sort of, in his alphaness and make that a product that people can watch. You know what I mean? Like Travis Gafford could have a tournament. Alienware can have a tournament. And I think it's going to create a lot more viewing opportunities for different levels of 5v5 competitive play. And I don't want that story to sort of sit on the radar because I think that like it's really good for the development of NA talent. It's really fucking cool in terms of like I'm missing competitive league right now. Like I really miss it. Like Worlds is over and it's like fuck, I want to watch some quality league 5-on-5 and like the way that they've done it is really cool. So if you're interested in league professionally as a viewer, check out those changes. The commissioners posted some stuff about that, but like it's just really, I think it's a really exciting time for NA. I think it's going to fix a lot of our problems. Also, yeah, so that's it. Like I think that that's a really cool thing. You know, the idea that 5 people in it, creating the old C9 thing, like 5 people clicked and took it and changed the game. Like I would love to see another story like that.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see fucking the lower teams of LCS get relegated. Like that's what I'd love to see. Like some shit like that, where some minor people can just put some shit together and find a new way to play the game and break the meta.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna do a Patreon shout out. Aru, AREUX. Thank you, dude. This episode's to you.
Do we know dude? That could be a chick.
His name's Lee Bell. So
that's ambiguous as fuck.
I don't think so.
Lee, I've met women named Lee.
Yeah,
they were lesbian.
Lee Bridges.
Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that seems dude.
Ashley, she's got a Lee in her name.
Didn't say Ashley. So, Lee, thank you for your support, you handsome son of a bitch. This one goes out to you.
Or beautiful lady, or however, whatever fluid.
Or foxy ass lady, however you're feeling.
Or completely average, non-binary entity that doesn't let looks define who you really are. You don't need some fucking lawyer from, Manitoba, Missouri, or wherever the fuck Blake's
Manitoba. I'm from the imaginary cigarette company from King of the Hill, Missouri.
You don't need him to tell you who you are. You don't need him to tell you what you're worth.
Yeah, you don't need Dale Gribble's favorite cigarette company to tell you
we
your
know
value,
exactly how much you're worth. Probably $5 a month. I don't know what the actual donation is. If
you're in the neighborhood. So thanks, man.
Those checks are coming, baby. We got a new government coming in. We're about to get another fresh 12. Drop a little bit on your LOLA, baby. Come on now.
So episode 300, by the way. Remind me. I want to make time. I want to call out every single Patreon we have on 300.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's a list. We've got.
Oh, did you hear about Sam?
No, what happened?
100 Thieves bought everybody in Golden Guardians.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. Like they did. They literally bought like all of their players. Like 100 Thieves is now like FBI, Hui, Closer, all this stuff. And I was curious if Sam was included in the package deal.
Well, I saw, and this is not a secret, so shout out to him from us, I suppose. But his dad had some health problems, and he had to move back to Seattle. So he has left Golden Guardians, I think effective at the start of the year, so he can spend some time with his dad before that gets particularly worse. So, shout out to Sam. Like, I don't know.
Man.
I hope he gets some of that nade shot money.
It feels weird to be like, thoughts and prayers, but thoughts and prayers.
No, really. Like, wish you the best, seriously.
So, hopefully his dad, it turns around and things get better. So, that being said, even if it doesn't, we're still pulling for you, dude. You're one of us. So
that's not a nice thing to say.
You're the best of us. Yeah, that's.
We're what happened when you left, Sam. Like,
all right.
This is...
Good night, everybody. All right, we're cutting. Wait till the upload is finished. And the stream is dead. Good night, everybody on the stream.